That's why I rock with him.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
That's why I rock with JV, man.
JV.
All right, Thursday Night Football just wrapped up. Eagles take it 24-20 over the Cowboys. And first and foremost, let me just say, the Cowboys really impressed me. Dak Prescott really impressed me. And you can attribute some of that to the loss of Jalen Carter, which we're going to get into. Believe me, got a lot to say about that. But I think Dallas handled what they could, and Dak had an incredible evening. You know what it is. It's JV. You're back on the JV show. NFL season is here. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. Like, comment, whatever you guys do. I don't know. Share it. I appreciate the support. We are rolling as the NFL season has just kicked off. We had a great game, Philly Cowboys. But before we get into Dak, before we touch on Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter, man, that was embarrassing. Jalen Carter slapped his team in the face. He said, "Screw you" to his teammates, his coaches, and the organization. As a star player, as a leader on that defense, have some pride in your character. Put your ego aside and put the team first. Because you know damn well Vic Fangio programmed that defense around you tonight. Jalen Carter was the focal point of that defense, the star, the top 3 player at his position, arguably number 1. He was the guy. You cannot take yourself out of the game like that. Spitting on Dak Prescott is a disgusting act. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a guy working at Walmart, an NFL player, a billionaire, guy working at a university. If you're me, you spit on a man's face, that's disgusting. I don't care who you are. I'm not holding you to a higher level than others. Just common courtesy. Take some pride in being a good leader and a role model for the rest of your team. Because the second you take yourself out of the game, you shoot yourself and the team in the foot, and you allow for things like the Cowboys hanging in the game to happen. He set his team back, and I'll tell you, I was rushing downstairs. Flick on the TV, sit on the couch. I see 14:54 on the game clock. First quarter, Jalen Carter walking off the field. And I am like, holy shit. How on earth does this even happen? Absolutely embarrassing. And that was really the story for Philly all night. Did not like the way they managed themselves. Because they're the better team. They're the better offense. They're the better defense. But they did not control what they could control. That's the number 1 rule in football. Control what you can control. The Eagles shot themselves in the foot. They got to understand, the only team that can beat Philly is Philly. But you have Jalen Carter ejected. You got Nolan Smith with 2 big penalties, a UR and a roughing the passer. You got Blankenship with an unnecessary roughness in the end zone, both of those extending drives. And sure, you came up with some big plays defensively. You won the game. But if Nick Sirianni is the coach everyone says he is, he'll clean this up. I have faith. They did it last year. But this team is way too talented. This team is way too stacked with talent, with skill, with potential to shoot yourself in the foot like that. To take your foot off the gas and make careless mistakes. And take careless penalties that set yourselves back. You know, a really good team capitalizes on that and they don't look back. Dallas, I'd say they're middle of the pack. A little bit better than I expected tonight for sure. but they're middle of the pack. You play a Ravens team like that, you play a Bills team like that, yeah, it ain't going to look the same. Philly got to clean that stuff up. Because that's just not going to fly come January, come February, when it matters. But again, week 1, let's talk some Jalen Hurts. Man, oh man, Jalen Alexander Hurts. I really got to flip-flop with this guy when we're talking about him because I love supporting him, but people take it too far. They do. Let's be honest. Philly fans, if you're watching this, let's keep it real. Like my guy MJ says, let's keep it a bean. You take it too far sometimes, and that's okay. He's your quarterback. Keep it biased. Cool. I love it. But I will say, Jalen Hurts haters are real silent tonight. Oh, they're real silent. They're sound asleep. Sleeping. They're sleeping tonight. Excellent performance from Jalen Hurts. He looked extra calm out there. A little bit too calm for my liking. He was maneuvering the pocket with ease all day to throw. Credit to the offensive line. They were excellent in the game. He was taking the easy completions to start the game, killing that Cowboys defense on the ground with his legs. He's right up there with Jaden Daniels and Lamar as one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a great passer, and he is elite running the ball. And with Philly, you got to choose your poison. Pick your poison, right? Stop Barkley, stop A.J. Brown, stop Devonta Smith. Something's got to give. He threw a lot of short routes, intermediate routes, kept it real basic until, bam, 50-yard dime to Jahan Dotson at the end of the second half. Doesn't get much better than that. I'm going to be honest with you. He is so versatile, so elusive. And yes, Jalen Hurts is elite. Case closed, debate over. You criticize him 24/7. He performs in big-time moments. Both Super Bowls. Prime time. First game of the season. Thursday Night Football. Cowboys. The light is still on you. Still a lot of doubt. Comes out, has one of his best games. I'm just looking at the stats over here. 19 completions on 23 attempts. 152 yards. Ran for a few scores. Everyone's thinking he can't throw the ball. All he's doing is rushing. And then, bam, 50-yard dime to Jahan Dotson. Come on, baby. Jalen Hurts, elite discussion, over. Top 5 quarterback in the NFL, over. Now, on the other side of the field, you got Dak Prescott. He's coming off a season-ending injury. You're not sure what he's going to look like, but man, oh man, Dak Prescott looked like a top 10 quarterback tonight. He looked elite, might I say. Now, I'm not going to jump to no conclusions. I'm not saying that he is elite or that he is a top 10 guy. There's a lot of talented quarterbacks, and it's the first game of the regular season. So if you're like JV, slow your roll. Completely understand. You know, I'm not here to tell you he's going to be the MVP this year. But I will say, CeeDee Lamb let Dak Prescott down tonight. Dak did everything he could to win that game for the Cowboys. He looked extremely youthful, really young. He was escaping the pocket with tempo, with great speed, completing passes on the run, with some heat on the football, with precision, with accuracy. He was hitting deep shots, completing balls over the middle. Dak was super confident tonight. No matter the throw, he trusted it. He looked super comfortable, and he put his team on his back and almost won them the game. Dak Prescott, maybe besides Jalen Hurts, was my MVP tonight. It was the two quarterbacks, 1A and 1B. I'm looking back. I'm watching, I think, to end the second quarter, right before half. 15 seconds on the game clock. We've seen the history. I think it was the Niners in the playoffs. Remember that? Snapped the ball, ran like a draw play, couldn't get the snap off in time afterwards, lost the game in the playoffs. This time around, great timing route, slant, down 10 yards in front of him. Brandon Aubrey kicks, big time field goal. By the way, what an excellent asset to have in Brandon Aubrey. You can see Dak's a true veteran. He knows what he's doing out there. I was really impressed. I really was. I mean, you want to talk about that Philly secondary too? Hey, he understood where the weakness was tonight. It was that Philly secondary. Adoree Jackson got torn up by CeeDee Lamb. It's a glaring weakness on that Philly defense. They got to make a change. You lose Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Isaiah Rodgers from that secondary this season. They had no answer to CeeDee Lamb all night long. If CeeDee Lamb didn't have Butterfingers for the last few drives, there's a very different result in this game. It is a clear problem. And I'll tell you one more thing. Let's circle back to my earlier point. Jalen Carter takes himself out the game. You give Dak a lot more time in the pocket to adjust with the defense, to look at the coverage, to digest the play call, and get the ball on time to a guy like CeeDee Lamb over and over. The Eagles should count their blessings. CeeDee Lamb wasn't on his game tonight. At least when it mattered at the end of the game. But Dak looked excellent. And, I'm just looking down here at my notes, and I'm also just remembering, how about that touchdown-saving tackle from Dak Prescott? He did it all tonight. Fumble on the 5-yard line, terrible place to lose the ball, never want to turn over in the red zone, but Dak Prescott comes flying out of nowhere to shut down a Quinyon Mitchell fumble recovery touchdown. Nobody else was catching him. There was nobody on that field with more pride tonight than Dak Prescott. And I got to give him it. I got to give him respect for that. He's a true leader. Whether you're down, whether you're up, he's a guy you want on your side. Probably not worth $60 million, but I'd be really comfortable with him as the face. Just as the face, as the character in front of my franchise. You can tell he's a great dude, and I appreciate that. In other news tonight, two more things I kind of had jotted down here on the notebook. Watching the game, I'm watching Hurts dissect this Cowboys defense. I'm like, man, Hurts has never had so much time in the pocket. Granted, offensive line, again, absolutely incredible. The best unit in the NFL. But who's missing from the Cowboys that's usually there to put pressure on the quarterback? I wonder. Maybe would you give me a Micah Parsons, perhaps? Jerry Jones lost that game by letting Micah Parsons go. He really did. The Cowboys were really missing Micah Parsons against the Eagles. Like I said, Jalen Hurts had all day in the pocket. He was at an all-inclusive 5-star hotel in Mexico relaxing in the pocket with no Micah Parsons. Now, Jerry Jones had some truth to his argument. The Cowboys were excellent against the run. They held Saquon Barkley to 60 yards on 18 carries. That's really good. You hold A.J. Brown. You hold Devonta Smith below, 20 yards? Both of them? That's incredible. So you did pretty good there. I won't lie to you, Jerry. But again, Philly, they're a pick-your-poison team. at some point you got to put pressure on the quarterback. You need a game changer on defense. You need a 15, 16, 17 season sack guy. You need a guy who can get you potentially 20 sacks in a season to go out and make a big play and put pressure on Hurts every single snap. And you don't got that. You had that in Micah Parsons. And that is what is so wild to me when you think about, letting a generational talent go. Jerry Jones had a 26-year-old in the prime of his career, in peak form, one of the best at his position groups, walk into his office, and he said no. He said, Green Bay can have you. I'm no NFL GM. I got no experience, but personally, I probably would have said yes. Yes, Micah, however much you want, we will make it happen because you're the future of our franchise. And tonight was Exhibit A of that. You're missing pressure on the quarterback. You're missing pressure off the edge. As a result, Jalen Hurts has all day in the pocket, and your defense, there's just not enough players on the field to account for everything Philly has. They needed a Micah out there tonight. With that being said, again, really good showing from the Cowboys. And the last thing I wanted to address here tonight, Brian Schottenheimer has my respect after tonight. Now, I'm not saying he's the head coach of the future. We've only seen one game. This is not an overreaction. But for a guy that a lot might have never heard of him heading into the game, a lot of people were skeptical about bringing him on as an internal hire for a head coach position. He was excellent. And for me, it is tough to judge a head coach's performance. Because think about legacy, right? Who are the greatest coaches of all time? Right now, right? Toss me a Bill Belichick. Toss me a Mike Tomlin currently. Toss me a Sean McVay right now. What do they all have in common? You got wins. You got success. Well, that's highly dependent on your roster around the players you got. Wins are a head coach stat, right? That's really all we can base it off. You see teams struggling. First got to go, head coach. Well, maybe he wasn't the problem. Maybe he just needed a quarterback or a receiver, right? Or something. But with that being said, Brian Schottenheimer impressed me. You had a big blow losing Micah earlier on in the week, right? You had every reason in the world to have a poor performance without Micah Parsons, with all the media attention. But he didn't. There were no big blunders at all. That's a big bonus. There was great time management, and he was very decisive with his decisions. Brian Schottenheimer was thrown to the wolves. We know the track record, the history of Dallas coaches being yes men, Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, Brian Schottenheimer. As a head coach in Dallas, under the rule of Jerry Jones, you're destined for failure. But I thought week one, to come out and compete with Philly, the defending Super Bowl champs, in your debut as a head coach for America's team, that was impressive. That deserves an applause. So he's got my respect moving forward. I wanted to see it, saw what I needed to. Really encouraging performance from the team, from Schottenheimer, and I think the Cowboys have a little glimmer of hope now. Maybe they're not as bad as we expected. Or maybe they are and they just really balled out tonight. Who knows? But that was a wrap on the game. That was a lot of my thoughts. Of course, I have so much to go off. But week 1 is absolutely freaking here, man. And I'm so excited. You can ask anybody that knows me all day long. I was just itching to get home, get in front of the TV, watch the game, and just enjoy it, right? Like, enjoy football being back. It is the best time of the year. We had a great game, super gritty, right? You love to see the passion, right? I don't agree with the ejection with Jalen Carter. Brutal. That cannot happen, right? I don't agree with the unnecessary roughness and putting guys in harm's way for no reason. But the grit, the passion, it was there tonight. And that's what you got to appreciate about football. It's football, right? You got to love it. NFL Week 1 is here. We got Chargers, Chiefs tomorrow in Brazil. Sunday slate of games. Let's go, baby. We're just getting rolling. Thank you so much for sticking with me. It's JV. You're on the JV Show. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. And as always, I'll catch you in the next episode. Yes, sir. Peace out.